From the very first moment, before the love bombing, before idealization, the survivor meets an absence, not a person in the psychodynamic sense. There is no central ego capable of mutual recognition, no self capable of authentic libidinal exchange. What stands before them is a facade animated by cold empathy, scanning, calibrating, and reflecting, but never truly there. This absence is dual layered. There's an affective absence. There's no lived, felt emotional reciprocity. Each apparent emotional moment is a simulation. It is detected, mirrored back, but never genuinely shared. An attachment absence. There is no capacity for secure mutual bonding. The shared fantasy offers the impression of attachment, but structurally, it is a one way installation into the survivor's psychic field. The survivor does not experience this as absence in the beginning. Instead, they fill it instantly and instinctively with their own projections, longings, and unfulfilled libidinal needs. The idealized soulmate image is self authored but misrecognized, in Lacan's sense, as belonging to the other. This is the seed of orbit. The survivor's libidinal energy wraps around a hollow object, sustaining the fantasy. The person they believe they have met is in reality their own longing embodied in an empty vessel. When the discard finally comes, nothing new is missing. The absence they feel was there all along. The difference is that now the projection has been stripped away, revealing the original void in its naked form. This is the confusion point. The survivor's first conscious encounter with the truth of what was always there. It is this void which will later form the center of orbital collapse, the empty gravitational well around which the survivor will circle until the reality of absence is integrated. The installation of the shared fantasy is not a gradual seduction, it's an immediate psychic seizure, executed with precision of a predator and the intensity of a lover. The narcissist is not attaching to the survivor as an independent person, but using them as a reflective surface to merge with their own projected self. This is the autoerotic axis of narcissistic relating. The other is not loved, they are inhabited, a surrogate self through which the narcissist can adore themselves from the outside in. In sexualized moments, this dynamic becomes clearest. The narcissist, whether overtly sexual or romantically demonstrative, is engaged in a kind of inverted masturbation, loving themselves as the opposite sex, using the survivor's body as both canvas and mirror. What appears to the survivor as overwhelming passion is, in reality, the narcissist libidinal circuitry closing in on itself, with the survivor as a conduit. For the survivor, this is intoxicating. The mirroring, the sexualization, the exaggerated declarations of soulmate destiny all combine to inflate the pseudo false self. The survivor's long buried hunger for unconditional love, secure attachment, and erotic validation is flooded with stimulus. The effect is not merely emotional, but structural. Parts of the survivor's ego begin reorganizing around this fantasy, believing it to be the long sought answer to their relational longing. This is not accidental. The narcissist engages in projective installation, embedding fragments of their own traits, attitudes, and affect into the survivor. These fragments will later be withdrawn in devaluation, leaving psychic cavities where they once glowed. For now, however, the survivor feels more themselves than ever, not realizing that this self is already colonized. Lacan's misrecognition underlies every exchange. Each sees in the other what they long to see in themselves. The narcissist sees the perfect mirror of their grandiosity. The survivor sees the perfect vessel for their longing to belong. This mutual compliance seals the architecture of the Hall of Mirrors, a closed psychic system in which every glance, touch, and word loops back into the narcissist's internal world. The bad object is nowhere to be seen. The engulfing, shaming, rejecting core of the narcissist's psychic reality remains hidden, even from themselves. All that is visible is the bright facade, the maternalized redeemer object pouring out affection, eroticism, and attention. The survivor believes they have been chosen. In truth, they have been installed. After installation, the narcissist engagement deepens into libidinal merging, a psychic fusion that seems to the survivor like the very definition of intimacy. But here, too, the apparent closeness masks an entirely different agenda. The narcissist is binding the survivor into their internal object world, pulling them into a closed loop of self referential pleasure. Where installation is instantaneous, merging is maintenance. The narcissist now treats the survivor not as an external partner, but as an extension of their own nervous system, an emotional prosthesis. Everything is channeled through the autoerotic drive. The survivor's responses, affections, and sexual reciprocity are mined for the narcissist's self regulation. The survivor feels they have entered a once in a lifetime bond. In truth, they have been assimilated. At this stage, the bad object, the engulfing, rejecting, shaming mother and interject, remains out of sight, but not inactive. It is compartmentalized in the narcissist's psychic structure, overlaid by the redeemer maternal object that is presented to the survivor. This concealment is deliberate and functional. If the bad object were visible too early, the survivor would flee. Instead, the narcissist uses the redeemer facade to keep the survivor engaged while the bad object, in shadow, waits for its inevitable emergence. This split, engulfment on one side, rejection on the other, is the engine of the narcissist's approach avoidance cycle. In libidinal merging, the engulfing object is in charge, flooding the survivor with attention and affirmation. The flooding keeps the survivor's pseudo false self inflated, hooked on the supply of validation. The survivor's compensatory false self grows more elaborate here. It is now patterned on both the narcissist's projected traits and the survivor's own idealized self image. Because the narcissist appears to be mirroring them, the survivor assumes that what they are seeing is their authentic self reflected back. In reality, what they are seeing is the narcissist's constructed ideal, temporarily mapped onto them for the narcissist's pleasure. This is where projective installation hardens into projective identification. The survivor unconsciously takes on the narcissist's installed traits, thoughts, and even speech patterns and begins to express them as if they were their own. These traits regulate the survivor's internal state, giving them the same intermittent elation that the narcissist experiences from the shared fantasy. But in the survivor's case, this regulation is already dependent on the narcissist's continued attention. Humans are hardwired for libidinal connection. It's not just sexual, but deeply tied to attachment and survival. The narcissist exploits this biological imperative by offering a depth of contact that mimics secure attachment. This creates an addictive feedback loop in the survivor's brain. Each moment of erotic or emotional merging releases dopamine, oxytocin, and further cementing the bond. The survivor believes they have found the one, the perfect soulmate, the only person who truly sees and understands them. In truth, what they have found is the narcissist's ideal self, wearing their own features like a mask. The result is compliance. The survivor willingly reinforces the shared fantasy, mistaking the narcissist's autoerotic self merging for mutual love. This is the apex of the false self's inflation. It is also the point from which the collapse becomes inevitable, because the bad object cannot remain hidden forever. As soon as the narcissist's internal attention tips towards rejection, the devaluation cycles begin. Peace out.